Dungeons & Dragons has a lot of rules. In fact, pages upon pages of rules. So many, in fact, that they had split it up into 3 separate books. So it's not uncommon to forget some of them from time to time, especially the more niche rules. But what we'll be covering today are probably the 5 most forgotten rules in 5th edition D&D. Stay till the end for an additional bonus rule that everyone forgets. The first rule that everyone seems to forget is the cover system. For those that don't know, the rules of cover are as follows. Walls, trees, creatures, and other obstacles provide cover during combat, making a target more difficult to harm. A target can benefit from cover only when an attack or other effect originates on the opposite side of the cover. There are 3 degrees of cover. If the target's behind multiple sources of cover, only the most protective degree of cover applies. The degrees aren't added together. For example, if a target is behind a creature that gives half cover and a tree trunk that gives a 3/4 cover, the target has 3/4 cover. Half cover gives a +2 bonus to AC and dexterity saving throws. 3/4 cover gives +5 to AC and dex saves, while total cover means that they can't be targeted directly by attacks or spells. The main part of this that is forgotten that attacking a creature with another creature between you and the target gives the target half cover at minimum. Meaning those back lines that are blasting your orcs and goblins while the front lines is holding them at bay should have an effective -2 to their attack roll. The whole cover system is why the archery fighting style exists, giving those that pick it up a +2 to their attack rolls, thus canceling out the +2 to the AC the monster gets. The next time you think your fight is going a little bit too easy, make sure you are keeping this rule in mind. The second rule is something that almost every player character has at this point, which is Darkvision. While this is a compilation of different rules, it does boil right back to how the ruling of Darkvision works. This is what the book says about Darkvision. Within a specific range, a creature with dark vision can see in dim light as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light. So areas of darkness are only lightly obscured as far as that creature is concerned. However, the creature can't discern color in that darkness, only shades of gray. The first thing to note is that your player characters cannot see color, only shades of gray. This is a big one if you want to throw color-based puzzles and the like at them. But there's another reason why even players with dark vision should carry and light torches. This is due to the fact dim light, which would be full darkness for dark vision players, counts as lightly obscured, which gives a hefty penalty of disadvantage on perception checks relying on sight. A very quick flip through the book to passive skill checks will remind us that if we would have disadvantage on a check that uses a passive score, be -5 from that score. For dark vision players will start using torches when that 12 passive perception goes down to a 7 and they keep getting jumped by things in the dark. On the topic of jumping, let's get to our third rule, which is the jumping rules. Yes, there are rules for jumping. Who knew? There are 2 different types of jumping, most common being the long jump. This is where you can jump up to your strength score, not modifier, if you move at least 10 feet immediately before the jump. If you have to make a standing long jump, i.e. jumping as far as possible without having to run up first, you instead move half of that distance. Either way, this will still take up movement equal to the number of feet jumped. The second form of jumping is a high jump, which allows you to jump 3 plus your strength modifier, not score, if you move at least 10 feet immediately before the jump. You can jump half of this distance if you don't take the 10 feet run up. So what does this mean? Well, it means baseline. If you have a strength score of 20, as long as you have 10 feet of run up, you can jump over a 15-foot wide gap without a skill check. On top of that, you have mad hops, as with a run up, your Goliath friend has a vertical leap of 8 feet. This isn't including his own bodily reach, which means he can grab a ledge that is 8 feet plus 1.5 times his height. All of this without actually having to roll. Now, the DM can impose athletic checks on you if you need to clear a low obstacle, such as a hedge or a low wall, no taller than a quarter of the jump distance. As well, if you land in difficult terrain, you must succeed on an acrobatics check or land prone. The next most forgotten rule about Dungeons & Dragons is on the other side of the encumbrance coin, which is food and water. When was the last time your party actually tracked their food and water while traveling a great distance? What this rule says is that a character needs 1 pound of food per day, but they can also survive on half rations, but doing so will count as a half day without food. A character can go without food for days equal to 3 plus their constitution modifier. Each day beyond this limit, the character suffers 1 level exhaustion. A character also needs 1 gallon of water per day. They can drink half that much water, but must succeed on a constitution saving throw or suffer 1 level exhaustion at the end of the day. If they can't even drink that much, the exhaustion is automatic. To top this all off, if the character already has exhaustion, the character takes 2 levels instead of just 1. Now, you might say my character has a water skin. He should be good on water as long as he finds a water source. Well, you're half right. A water skin only holds 4 pints of water, which is only half a gallon. There are multiple ways to get around even needing to follow this rule. Mainly spells like Good Barrier create food and water. You just have to be careful and remember when you're casting this stuff. If you cast your food spells in the morning, you'll be down a spell slot a whole day, while if you wait for before your long rest, you might not have any spell slots left. The final forgotten rule is how falling works. This rule doesn't come up all that often, so I can see how even Matt Mercer could forget the correct ruling on this one. It's a pretty simple rule. For every 10 feet a character falls, they take 1d6 of damage up to a maximum of 20d6. And the second part of this rule is the thing most people forget. They don't avoid the damage of falling, they'll land prone, meaning jumping from a 10-foot high ledge and running over to the bad guy will cost you half your movement to stand up and continue your turn. In addition to this, Xanathar's Guide to Everything includes an optional rule for rate of falling. Normally, it is assumed that the creature falls the full distance in that one turn, meaning someone can fall 20,000 feet in 6 seconds. This optional rule changes that, making you only fall 500 feet a turn instantly, and if you are still falling on your next turn, then you fall an additional 500 feet at the end of that turn. Super secret bonus forgotten rule, the loading property on crossbows. Because of this, even if you benefit from extra attack and have a free hand, you can only fire 1 piece of ammunition from it with an action, bonus action, or reaction, regardless of the number of attacks you actually have. And those are 5 of the most forgotten Dungeons & Dragons rules, plus 1. If you think that there are even more forgotten rules, let me know in the comments below. And while you're down there, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to see what you're doing wrong with Beholder tactics, click here.